is Mike. This is a bike. This is about a 2007 Victory Jackpot, Ikea style, some assembly required. It's about 3/4 or 25, 30 seconds there. I'm missing a few key parts yet. Probably the one you notice that's missing the most is the engine. Well, we're going to steal the engine out of Inferno in the garage there because, well, it has the longer output shaft that Victory put on the bikes that use the wide back tire. Now, it's in that other bike and the pulleys don't quite line up, so I've got another engine coming. I found one cheap on eBay, and of course it's, lowest price, and it's got transmission issues, so we'll get that engine here, we'll go through it, we'll figure out what's wrong with the transmission, and we'll put it in Inferno. So that'll be on a different video. And then once we get the engine out of there, hopefully I'll be able to round up the remaining missing parts, and we'll be able to assemble this bike, Ikea style. Now, in the last episode, I talked about some of the vehicles I have. I have too many vehicles. I need to thin the herd out. I can't possibly drive them all. And I decided that the Prius from hell is going to get sold. Clear up a little bit of room and catch up on some bills. So exactly what I did next was, well, I did this. Yeah, went out and bought another project car. You see, well, guess it's a disease. What is it? ADD, Attention Deficit Automotive Disorder. Yeah, that's what I've got. I couldn't let it sit there in a junkyard to be disassembled and taken apart and demolished. This fine unit here is a 1982 Ford Granada station wagon. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with the Granada, well, the Granada was a kind of a stopgap car during the 70s. It was based on the Ford Falcon chassis, and by the early 80s, they decided to move it over, using that badge, they moved it over to the Fox platform, just like the Mustang and the Fairmont, and then later on the LTD. And this one here, well, take a look. This one here is a station wagon flavored. Yeah, I've always kind of had things for station wagons. Station wagons, well, I feel like you're getting a little bit more car for your money with a station wagon. You can use it as a truck if you need to. You can put your kids and the neighbor's kids in the back, and, well, it doesn't run. It's been sitting for a decade. Guy passed away and left it to his son and hauled it off to the wrecking yard. And so, in this episode, we're going to revive this fine Ford automobile. Yeah, I know, Carl, you're never coming back because I'm not doing bikes. I'm doing another car. Sorry. Yeah, maybe when I do the engine, the new engine for Inferno, or the new used broken transmission engine for Inferno, and maybe when I assemble the jackpot here, the Ikea jackpot, maybe Carl will resubscribe. But until then, well, we'll just do what we have to do to get this fine machine back on the road. So, stick around. Oh boy. Has anybody seen an instruction sheet and an Allen wrench?
Somewhere in a dusty, dirty back alley in western Arizona is an old fart trying to cram a square peg into a round hole. He'll work on anything, just as long as it's got at least 2 cool wheels.
One man's trash is another man's treasure. It's a wrecking yard in North Las Vegas. And we're going to try to make a car out of it. The trick's going to be getting it on my trailer, well, because we don't have a key. That's something I can fix when I get home, but I got to get it there first. Fortunately, Jose is equipped with the right equipment. A little tour of this fine vehicle. As you can see, it's got the obligatory rust on it, but overall the body's really sound. It's a Las Vegas area vehicle, so it doesn't have any kind of body rot. I feel sorry for the folks back east. They get these cars and they're beautiful inside, and there's even good paint on them, but they're just so badly rotted by the salt on the roads. We don't have that problem here in the Southwest. We get a little surface rust on the top areas because the sun is just so intense, and I mean, even looking at the roof now, I can see radiation coming off of it. It's real tough on the paint, but the metal sticks around okay. Take a look inside here, and looking inside, well, the inside's not terrible. Headliners all coming out, but seats, they're all there. They need a good cleaning. They're stained. But it's really pretty nice. It's got all the cool stuff like a CB. That right there is what sold me. I saw the ad on Fascist Book, and this car had a CB in it. That takes me back. I've mentioned in other videos back in my day, well, they didn't have cell phones, so if you wanted to get together and hang out with your friends, you'd pull them up on the CB. Also has a stereo, AM and FM, and I think, no 8-track. I was kind of hoping it would. The dash had one of those dash mats on it. I suppose I should put this dash mat back on. I think the dash mat's outlived its usefulness, and besides, there's not a whole lot of dash left to save. The sun has just annihilated it. It does have a steering wheel. This particular steering wheel is great because, you can go left and you can go right and stuff. Unless, of course, that's got a locking steering column and we don't have the key. Then the steering wheel, well, it's just kind of in the way. So before I can really do anything else, I can't even get it off the trailer until I go down to the auto parts store and buy an ignition lock cylinder and take the steering column apart and install a new ignition lock cylinder. Then we can get this fine vehicle unloaded off the trailer and into the work bay. We'll move the Prius from hell, and we'll get it in there. We'll put her up in the air and take a look at the undercarriage. Back seat's just as nice as the front. They actually took care of it, so I think this will clean up pretty damn nice. Obviously, the guy was into motorcycling because he's got some, face shields here. Not sure what that's about. And then there's some little blindy things to put in the windows. and a Thomas Brothers Atlas. Now, again, some of you young folks probably never heard of the Thomas Brothers Atlas. Well, once upon a time, before there was Google Maps and MapQuest and some of those other fancy ways of finding places, we had to rely on something called the Thomas Brothers Atlas. And this is the only way you could figure out where the hell you were going. This particular one is for the LA area. We used to have one of these. 1987. Yeah, it's pretty old. But it has picture after picture after road. The same thing that you do on Google, but you're seeing it in print form. And then there's some sections like downtown LA and like that, they have even closer. So there's no way to zoom in on a printed page, but they do have pages in it that are already zoomed in. So pretty neat. Those are probably collector's items nowadays. And there's the rest of our headliner. You know, we'll just kind of keep that as a rear window curtain. I think we'll just leave it right like it is. And as you can see, I have only the finest, highest quality straps holding this on. Yeah, you know, I got all the way to Las Vegas. It's about a 2-hour drive for me. And realized I'd left my good straps behind. I had these old, worn-out ones. So and in fact, the hook is gone off the other end. I just actually tied it to the axle. Yeah, real safe. And as you can see, it's pretty well dry rotted. I did happen to have a halfway decent motorcycle strap, but it's grossly underrated for the amount of load that's on here. So I was driving real careful on the way home. Didn't want to have to slam on the brakes. Otherwise, well, my grenade would be in the back window of my Chevy Astro. I do have some cables holding it at the front, so I wasn't too concerned about rolling off the back. I'm just concerned about if I had to slam on the brakes, where this car's grill would end up. Yeah, I'll take a gander under the hood here. Where's my secondary latch? There it is. Work with me here. It's our prop rod. Not seeing one. I guess my arm's going to be the prop rod. So what we're looking at here is a 200 cubic inch inline 6-cylinder engine. Like so many Ford engines, this was their economy engine at the time. They did the next year come up with a 3.8 liter V6, but you could get a V8. These came with the 302. Now this particular one, because it's got the inline 6, you can't just drop a V8 in it. According to research, you have to change the K-member, which isn't that big a deal. It's the same K-member that all the Fox bodies use. Anything that had a V8 in it, any Mustang or Fairmont or Thunderbird, you can just take the K-member out of that. Oh look, on the roof, a place for the CB antenna. Alrighty, so tomorrow's project is to get that ignition switch replaced first thing in the morning, and I'll probably remove one of the door locks as well because they are different keying, and I'll pop that out, take it to the locksmith, and then I'll be able to open the hatch. And once we get a cylinder in it, we'll get it off the trailer, and we'll bring it on in here to the shop and see if we can't get it to run. Get the Prius from hell out of the way and get her functional. Well, good morning. It's the next day. So our course of action for today is, first of all, to get a new ignition cylinder in this fine automobile so we can steer it and get it off the trailer and maybe even start it. But before I can even try to start it, another thing I've got to do is I got to crawl underneath it. I've got to crawl underneath it because Jose, the guy who has the wrecking yard that had the car, had to disconnect the transmission linkage in order to tow it. So when he disconnected the linkage, I don't know if the transmission is in neutral, forward, or reverse. Now, if I'm under the hood trying to start this thing, it happens to be in a forward gear, a drive gear, well, then I get compressed between the Astro and the Ford, and I get a Ford logo on my belly and an Astro or a Chevrolet bow tie in my back, and that wouldn't be good. So we're going to put a cylinder in it. We're going to make sure that it's in park and reconnect the transmission linkage, and then we'll crawl under the hood and see if we can't get her fired up. So, without too much further ado, let's dig in. One of the other things I noticed when I turned the key on, I didn't have any idiot lights, and the ignition switch, it's actually kind of a common problem on some of these Fords. The ignition switch, what happens is these little ears here, well, they stretch over time, and you can see there's a gap there. Actually, I've closed it off a little and tapped on it with a hammer and a screw and tried and close it, but this whole piece here, see how it's moving? There's springs in there to push the contacts against the contact plate, but these come loose over time, and pretty soon things stop working, or you hit a bump and the car dies and stuff like that. So this is ultimately going to have to be replaced as well. This is the actual switch. So the cylinder actuates a gear, the gear moves a rod, the rod slides the switch, and it's going to need that as well. But like I said, I've kind of peened it over a little bit, and it's holding together good enough to get us off the trailer. But again, that's another component that's going to require replacement. All that crawling and stuff, well, turns out I can get to it from the top. Only after I kind of contorted myself and got a jack out and broke my wrist, you know. Yeah, I'll show you. Never fails. Yeah, there's the linkage right there. It's just that nut right down there. That just needs to be slid into place and tightened. Yeah. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put a battery in it. Before I do that, I'm going to check the oil, make sure it's got decent enough oil to circulate. If we start cranking this motor, we don't want to circulate water, or if there's no oil in it for some reason, we don't want to damage the bearings. I'm going to use my remote starter button here, kind of a Mickey Mouse rig. You know, old Derek on Vice Grip Garage, he's got his Lone Wolf 9000. And if you're following Low Butt Garage, old James, he's got his Lame Fox 12 or whatever it is. And well, mine, I guess I just call it Dead Dog 00 or something like that. Anyway, it allows me to operate the solenoid, and then we can get a little spray in the carburetor and see if we can get it to fire over. So here we go. Get that battery out, go from there. Oh, you like my hood prop rod? Yeah, well, it was handy. It works. Cranky. Yeah, hot. Yeah, a little mixture here of two-stroke oil and gas. That way the valves and such will get a little lubrication. As we crank it around, let's see if she'll actually do a little starting. I did put a fuel filter in line to the fuel pump, so the crap gas coming out will get trapped if the fuel pump works at all, for that matter. Let's see what happens here. That sounded like it wanted to. That was promising. She's almost there. Let's see if again. It is. It's spraying everywhere. Got oil going everywhere from someplace. Spots. Where's that coming from? That could be a problem. I'm not sure where that's coming from. She's spraying in this direction and on me. Huh. That's interesting. Oh! Big old oil leak here by the oil filter. Something's running down the side here. Oil filter itself. Well, you know, it's a good thing I've got another oil filter. Oh yeah, there's a big old hole in the oil filter, I can see it. Well, that's an easy fix. We'll put a oil filter on it real fast. Yes, sir. Nothing quite like a morning shower in oil. Oh, look, there's oil on the printer now. Well, you know, those boards need lubing anyway. They're kind of dry. Come on, filter, come on from there. Kind of hard to hold on to when it's covered with oil. nasty pig. Whew. Nasty. Oh yeah, there's just oil everywhere now. This is not good. Yeah, hang out there for a minute. Find a rag. Goodness, that was a messy prospect. I know it's supposed to be a Wix, but you know, it was on sale. You can always change it again later. I tried to find out who makes the STP filters for AutoZone, and it's a filter company that's been around for a while, so quality's probably okay. Maybe not the best, but decent. Goodness, what a mess. All right. Got a fine mixture of oil, sand, dust, you know. Gives the car some character. Oh boy. Let's try it again with the old starteroo. Hiya! Over here. Yeah. Go. Well, if we can get a decent fuel system, she might be okay. I'm not getting the gas out of the tank. I smelled the tank. It smelled like varnish. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to rig up a fuel system that this thing can actually run on. Good news is she's a runner and she lives. Well, turns out that our carburetor, I got the carburetor filled all the way up to the top of the vent with fuel and it's not going down. I worked the pump, the throttle, and it's not squirting any fuel into it, so it only runs on whatever's gone down the throat. Nothing's coming out of the float bowl, which tells me that I've got to take that carburetor apart. All the little fuel passages are blocked. So we're going to yank the carb, go through it. Then I've also rigged up a fuel system, a temporary fuel system. Nothing's coming out of the tank. And it's varnish anyway, so I've got a small thing rigged here. I've got my low budget, what is it, a pretzel jar or something, and I've tied it in with some hose right down into the fuel pump. When I was cranking it a minute ago, I was seeing it pulse, so I think my fuel pump is going to be good. So if I go through the carburetor, get it fixed up, oh, I see something leaking. Looks like the fuel pump's actually leaking. I don't know if that's the fitting or if it's something further down. Oh yeah, the diaphragm's leaking. So we're going to need a new fuel pump too. Basically, we need a new fuel system. Carburetor, fuel pump, fuel tank. So we'll get the carburetor anyway, so at least we can pull it off the trailer. Well, there it is. My God, talk about a unnecessarily complicated deal. I've got vacuum tubes connected to T's, connected to vacuum hoses and solenoids, connected to other solenoids and choke heaters, and just a lot of extraneous crap because, well, this was a heavily smogged year, and this is before they went to electronic fuel injection. So they had to compensate and control the air-fuel mixture very precisely, and try to do that with a carburetor, well, it's not an easy task. You've got to overcomplicate it to simplify. Something like that. Anyway, we'll tear into this, we'll get it put back on the beast and see what happens. Well, turns out the reason it seemed like the float bowl was full is because, well, this is the bowl vent right in front of our camera, and it's actuated by some kind of an electrical solenoid. So on normal cars, that vent tube right there vents the atmosphere at all times. On this one, apparently it requires some kind of electrical signal before it can open to the atmosphere, and that's why it appeared to be full of fuel when it actually was not. So the carburetor itself, well, kind of clean inside. I made a point of destroying the gasket while I was taking it apart because, well, I like making more work for myself. And of course we don't have a carburetor kit, so there's nowhere in hell I'm going to get a gasket like that right now. So we're going to just kind of try to patch it together long enough to get the damn thing off the trailer. Here we go again. Fuel pump, I checked, it's getting fuel pressure to the carburetor. Carburetor was clean and clear. We should be able to get it to start in idle on its own. So here we go. There she goes. Yay. Well, sort of idled. I'll get that dialed in and we'll back her off the trailer. finally. Alright, well, transmission slips like a bad dog. Put some fluid in it, kind of hard to read the dipstick. And has no brakes whatsoever. So I was real fortunate that the cable was able to, on my winch, was able to stop it before it rolled all the way down the alley, because it is a little downhill. So, there it is. And we'll be doing more videos on it here in a while. We'll get it all fixed up. So we got it to move under its own power. And that's not the way we got it. So, till the next video, see you then.